Hello my friends, it's Chris here from the School of Embodiment, and today I'm going to talk about the dark night of the soul. And I'm going to give you practical tips you can do if you find yourself within a dark night of the soul. So firstly, I'm going to explain what a dark night of the soul is from my own personal experience. This isn't from something that I've read or anything that I've studied. This comes from my own personal experience of going through what I would definitely describe as a dark night of the soul. Now, this happened when I was 21 years old, and I'd been struggling with my mental health for a few years, and then my mental health got really, really bad. I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, and then I had a big spiritual experience triggered by smoking a spliff. And after that spiritual experience, my whole world sort of collapsed in. And I entered into a state of really intense fear and darkness and pain and suffering. And within that experience, probably the thing that was most challenging for me, the thing that was most difficult for me, was this feeling that I'd lost all sense of my soul. Now, I wasn't a religious person. I wasn't a spiritual person in any way. I was an atheist. I didn't believe in the soul. The soul has never been in my language. I'd never even really thought about it. But I found my way to a psychologist after about a month of barely being able to sleep, constant anxiety, this intense depression, and this feeling of just not knowing who I was. And I went to this psychologist, and the only thing I could say to her was, I feel like I've lost my soul. Anyway, I'd just got on a job working at a cinema, and there was this security guard there, and he loved having banter with people. He liked taking the piss out of people. He was that sort of guy. And I was not in the mood for that at all. I was going through hell. I just wanted to get in there, eat a bit of popcorn, get my cash, and bounce. But he looked me in the eyes one day, and he just said, "You look like you've got no soul. There's no soul in you." And that really cut me deep when he said that. That really, really hurt me, because that's the exact feeling that I had. I had this feeling that I had no soul. And I remember standing in my parents' kitchen, and I must have just been staring out into the distance. And my dad said to me, "Chris, you've got this 1,000-yard stare." I think that's what's it called? It's a shell shock term when people get back from war, or when they've been through a trauma. There's this 1,000-yard stare. It's like there's nothing there. You're just staring into the distance. And that's what I was like. I thought I'd completely lost my soul. And that experience went on for a number of years, and I was dragged through absolute hell, the deepest darkness you could imagine psychologically. And it was really, really challenging for me in lots of ways. But as I say, one of the most difficult things was this sense of losing my soul. And so what I did is I started working with my body to connect with the feelings in my body. And one day, when I was at home, I was in a state of panic, and I'd been in this state of panic for many years, and this state of coldness, this feeling of the world being cold, this feeling of complete disconnection from myself, this feeling of complete disconnection from everyone around me. I wasn't laughing anymore. I couldn't laugh anymore. But I remember this panic coming up, and in this moment of this panic, this fear of losing my mind and going crazy came up. My awareness dropped into the feeling of panic, And instead of being up in a dissociated state of being in my head with all of these thoughts, my awareness dropped down into the feeling of panic in my body. And in dropping into the feeling of panic in my body, in feeling the feeling in my body, I came out of my mind and I reconnected with the felt sense of my body. And in reconnecting with the felt sense of my body, I reconnected with the feeling of being connected to life. And then I went outside and I was walking around my garden. I told this story the other day, but there was just this sense inside of coming home to myself. And the thought came into my head, this is what spirituality is. I'd come home to myself. Something like some inner warmth had arisen, this joy which was that had completely disappeared from me, the sense of my soul which had completely disappeared came back online, and this joy came back. And I could almost feel the light coming into my eyes again as I'd reconnected with my body. In reconnecting with my body, I'd reconnected with my being, and that essence, that soul essence had come back up into the forefront of experience. And then that took me on a journey of, okay, I knew that in reconnecting with my feelings, instead of being up in the head, then I would feel at peace, then I would feel joyful, then I would feel alive. And I went on a long, long journey of every time an emotion arose within me, instead of allowing it to pull me into the mind, I just brought my attention into it. I met it, I infused it with presence, I became intimate with it, and in becoming intimate with all of the feelings within my body, in meeting and healing and processing all of the feelings in my body, I reignited that sense of my soul, or my favorite language for it now is I reignited the felt sense, the felt knowing of my own being. And this joy started shining and shining and shining.